Hey guys, welcome to Heart and Homestead with Dawn. I'm here with my husband Brendan.
Hi.
And we are standing in our garden. It's about 6:45 p.m. No, it is not. It is 5:45 p.m. It's a gorgeous day. We've had a wonderful day harvesting our tomatoes. I have about 18 quarts on the stove right now, cooking down, getting ready for me to can it. And we came outside to do a little bit more harvesting to get something else ready. What are we harvesting now, honey?
We're harvesting plantain.
Yep. So we're going to go ahead and walk on over and do the harvesting process with you. And while we're doing that, we'll share a little bit about why we decided to do this. So here you see our plantain growing, 2 rows that we actually have been cultivating here. Most people pick these up out of their garden. We pick them up and put them into our garden. Brendan's going to share a little bit about how we use our plantain, in addition to me telling you what I use it for. So honey,
Yes.
while you're harvesting, can you tell us a little bit about why you love plantain so much?
Well, look how beautiful my plantain is, and look how beautiful these leaves are. You hardly ever see them that big in the wild, at least what I've seen. And the reason I like this plant the most, is probably my favorite herb, right up there with cayenne pepper, is because I don't have to go to the hospital when I get stung by a yellow jacket. So if I get stung by a yellow jacket, my whole arm swells up, goes up my shoulder and up my neck, and then I go for steroids, which I have a bad reaction to. I don't go for steroids anymore. If I find this anywhere wild, I chew it and put it on there and make a poultice and keep it wet, and it draws the poison out. It's a drawing salve. It's also good for digestion and teas, but mainly we use it for all sorts of skin stuff around the house, and you'll talk about more about like that. This is what we call it one of God's healing herbs. They're not here by evolution. They were put here on purpose. It says in the Bible in Genesis that the herbs of the field are for the benefit of man. This is an herb. So they were put here for God, by God, for us.
Yes.
So we're just blessed to have it, and I was so happy with this that I grew it. I cultivated it.
Yeah.
You know anybody that grows this weed? It's called plantain weed. And I'm going to leave the middles here so that it can continue to grow.
Yes.
Look at this. Look how good.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And we are going to actually offer it available for sale on our website, Homestead Food Gardens. I am a health coach too, so if anybody needs coaching, a garden coach and a health coach, we're going to start off selling Dr. Christopher's product, which we use now, and then when we get this done, we're going to be selling our product on our website, Plantain Salve, on Homestead Food Gardens.
And I will be sure to link that website to this video somehow. I will learn how to do that. So we brought all the harvested plantain leaves into the house, and my thought was to just gently wipe each one off with a cloth before putting it in the dehydrator, because we don't use any pesticides on our farm. So it was really just dusting off a little bit of debris. However, when I started dusting them off, I started seeing a lot of little tiny round black balls. And if you remember, we had an issue with the Colorado potato beetle that was on our eggplant. Well, apparently they were doing their business on our plantain leaves. So I did end up rinsing them off, which generally is not recommended before you hydrate something, because you're adding moisture, and the reason we're hydrating is to remove all the moisture. But in this case, I felt it was something necessary to do. So after we finish rinsing them underwater, we just take a clean, dry cloth, and we're going to just wipe them to make sure we get all the rest of the debris off of them, as well as try and get as much of the water off of them as we can. We have a couple of discards. If these were good leaves, we would have 9 complete trays, but this one here you know, it has that nasty hole in it, so I'm not going to use it. This one here is also pretty eaten up. This one is just pretty bruised, so I don't want to use that one. And this one has a crazy spider web embedded into it. I cannot get that off. So we're just not going to use these. They're going to go in the compost. But the rest are laid out on our trays and they are ready to start the dehydrating process. So here's my dehydrator. It has 9 trays. I have approximately 12 leaves on each tray, except for the last one that I did. And again, you don't want to overlap your leaves. You want to make sure that you leave enough space in between. You also want to make sure that they're not touching the top tray too much. So some of these are a little precarious because they're curling up like that. I hope they'll come out okay. And now it's just a matter of putting the cover on and then setting the temperature. So you can see here, it has a nice little guide for drying, and we're going to go with the top one, which is herbs at 95 degrees. We could go to 105, but I always find that lower temperature for longer periods is better than a higher temperature, just like when you are cooking. So we're just going to turn our gauge here to the 95 degree setting. And then we're going to start our timer for about 2 to 4 hours. So it's 8:34 p.m. right now. I'm not going to be up in 4 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and set my timer for 10 p.m. and see how it's doing. And so that's about an hour and a half, and we'll see how they're doing. And if they're doing well, then I'll wait up the other 30 minutes. And if not, then I'll turn the temperature down even just a little bit more, and I will let it go all night long. Okay, so I did end up leaving this on overnight because it was not done in the hour and a half that it had, and you can see the difference now. There's no rubber feeling to them. They break, they're super crisp. So the next step is to take them out and to break them all up. I'm gonna actually put them in a little chopper, food chopper, grind them up really nice, and then get them going in the olive oil. So let's go on to the next stage. After just breaking them up with my hands, I found it so super rewarding, and it breaks it up pretty fine because they're nice and dry, that I'm not even going to bother with the manual food processor. I'm just going to do it with my hands like this. Okay, so look at how beautiful this turned out. All these beautiful dried plantain leaves. And now all we're gonna do is measure 5 to 8 tablespoons. I'm going with 8 tablespoons because I want this to be really strong and medicinal. So I'm just measuring out 8 heaping tablespoons into a pint-sized jar. Okay, once you do that, you take your olive oil. We use cold press extra virgin olive oil, and then you just want to cover your plantain leaves. Just pour it right over there. So basically what you're doing is making an infused oil. This is a plantain infused oil that we're going to turn into a salve. So just make sure that your leaves are all covered. Give it a little stir. Make sure that it's mixed up nicely. Add a little oil if you feel you need to. From here, we're going to cap it off. Again, these are pint-sized jars. And then we're gonna bring them over here to our crock pot. Now on the bottom of the crock pot, I have a little jar rack to prevent them from touching the bottom. If you don't have one of those, you can just use any old towel, put it on the bottom to prevent the jars from getting overheated. Make sure that the water goes at least halfway up the jar, and then we're gonna just put it on warm and leave it there for about 2 to 4 hours. Good night, little plantain. You're going to want to take them out, wipe the outside of the jar well, and then scrape off any residue that might be on the cap because it's all precious. We don't want to lose a drop. From there, you're going to get yourself a little bowl with some cheesecloth, and you're going to begin to pour each one into the bowl. I have this cheesecloth doubled, and we're just going to go ahead and squeeze out as much of that oil as we can. Once we squeeze out all the oil, we're going to go ahead and let it sit for about another 4 to 6 hours. The reason that we do that is just in case any water may have gotten into your jar. The water will pool at the bottom of the bowl, and you'll be able to siphon that out with a turkey baster. Because there's so much, I'm going to do each jar individually. Look at that. That's gonna nourish my skin. Okay, so the next step after we strain our plantain oil, and I just want you to take a look at this for a minute. Look at how beautiful that is. Look at the color. That is plantain infused oil. And so my husband just got this beeswax for me. I don't really know much about it other than it was made in the USA and it was sourced from American bees. So, and they're little pellets instead of chunks. Now, depending on where you live, you may actually be able to find somebody local that has bees that would be willing to give you beeswax, but you need beeswax in order to make your plantain oil into a plantain salve. You can use this plantain infused oil exactly the way it is. It's got the same medicinal benefits. The only thing that we're going to be doing is adding beeswax to turn this liquid into a solid. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out how much plantain infused oil we have. And I think we have about 2 cups. And I'm right, it's about 2 cups. So the recipe is 3 tablespoons of beeswax for 1 cup of oil. So we're going to use 6 tablespoons of beeswax. And you'll notice here I have an empty bowl jar and I have a pot of boiling water. So this, I would recommend that when you do this, you need to kind of do a double boiler thing. That's why I'm going to be putting the beeswax in the empty jar and then the jar inside the pot of boiling water. This jar actually, unfortunately, has a crack, so I can't use it for canning. But I love this jar. It's so old, it's kind of square. So I'm going to use it for this. So first thing we're going to do is measure our beeswax and 6 tablespoons of it. So here we go. I'm doing rounded tablespoons. And there we go. That's 6 tablespoons. You want to make sure that you have a nice, long, thin spoon that can fit down into your jar. And then we're just going to go ahead and immerse the jar into the boiling water. Slowly, so it doesn't crack. And then we're going to give this a stir till it starts melting. Look how cool it looks over here. It's like magnified through the double glass. Almost. Once it gets nice and melted, the next step is to then pour our oil in it. Once your beeswax is melted, then you're going to gently pour your plantain infused oil into the jar with the beeswax. And just keep on stirring until it is nicely emulsified. So it's going to be nicely all melted and blended together. Once that happens, we have our jars set up over here. I'm just using little jam jars for now. We didn't get the little tins, but you can get those little tins. They're great for giving away gifts. They come in all different sizes. Okay, so take a look. Our oil and our beeswax have nicely meshed together. And so the next step is to just pour into our little containers. And you'll see there's some wax up here. Not a big deal. That's why you want to set aside a jar of some sort and a spoon that you're going to just leave for the purpose of making this. The jar is not too hot, so I can handle it with my hands. And I'm just going to go ahead and start filling these up. And there you have it. I want to tell you just a little bit about this amazing weed. We have used it for a very long time in our household. My husband went to the School of Natural Healing, which is Dr. Christopher. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Christopher's products. We use a lot of them. And that's when we were first introduced to Dr. Christopher's Plantain Salve. I think it might be called Bite and Stings right now. I'm not positive, but we use it for everything here in our household. We have tremendous testimonies of people getting cured, including my husband, from being stung with a wasp to burn bites to bug bites. But my ultimate favorite is diaper rash on my grandkids. It is so soothing on their diaper rash, not just soothing, but healing, that they ask for it when they come over. My 2-year-old grandson and my 3-year-old granddaughter, if they get a bug bite or if I change their diaper and they have diaper rash, will ask me, they call me Lala, and they will say, Lala cream, Lala cream. So we bought them a Dr. Christopher's one last year for Christmas, and they have one at their house. But I am super excited to be able to now make our own, and I'm going to get some little tiny tins so that they can each have one of their own. Hi friends, so it is the day after that we made the plantain salve. I just got home from work. That is my cat trying to get my attention, so ignore that in the background. I just wanted to show you how the plantain salve came out. I'm really happy with it. I love the color. I love the consistency. I love the ease of this recipe, and here it is. These are 4-ounce, again, jelly or jam jars. This is a solid salve that we can now use on bites, on burns, on rashes, on any kind of skin irritation, or just an overall lotion. All 6 of them came out beautiful. Super happy. I'm really happy with the recipe. If I was to change up the recipe at all, I would probably heat up the plantain infused oil a little bit before adding the beeswax to make the melting down of the beeswax a little more easy. But overall, the entire recipe was super easy to make and very satisfying. So I hope that you will give it a try if you've never used plantain oil before. I hope that you found this video helpful. Whoops, back up. I forgot to tell you a couple of things. First of all, you definitely want to make sure that you cap your plantain oil off. You want to make sure that you label, and you want to make sure that you store your plantain oil in a cool, dry dark place, like you would store any other supplement that you take or any other herb that you might have in your house, right? A tea bag or you know, any vitamins or supplements usually are kept inside of a cabinet with a door. You're going to do the same thing with this. Have it as your go-to in your medicine cabinet. I think you're going to absolutely love it. It will have a shelf life of approximately 1 year because it has an oil base, and most oils will turn rancid after 1 year. So you want to use it up, which I don't think you're going to have a problem doing if you do use it as your go-to for scrapes or burns or rashes or any other skin irritation. If you found this video helpful, if you liked it and you enjoyed this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please considering subscribing and sharing. Until next time, have a blessed day.